I lived alone in the house with my brother. My brother was 2 years younger than me, but he looked like a young man. One afternoon, when my brother came home, he went straight to the bathroom. Half an hour had passed, but he didn't come out. I peeked through the bathroom light and felt very embarrassed because my brother was holding my dirty night panties in his hand and smelling them. I went to my room at that moment. I knew what my brother wanted. He had become young now. Now I would deliberately keep my private clothes in the bathroom every day and look through the light myself. But one day, when I saw you, when you looked at your brother's 6-inch long penis, my mouth watered because my brother was 2 years younger than me. He was 18 years old. We both had no support other than each other. Whenever we talked to each other at home, our lives were based on our mother's savings. Now we didn't even have money left to rent the house. Finally, we were forced to sit down and take both siblings. One room was enough to live in, but you also had to arrange food and drink. Soon, my brother and I left home in search of work. I got admission in a sewing center. Here, along with teaching, we got 50 or sometimes 100 rupees a day. 50 or 100 rupees was enough for both of us to eat a full meal at one time. But I had been feeling for a few days that Mir Abhay Shakir was often absent. I tried to talk to him, but he didn't tell me anything. One night, I was sleeping when I heard my brother screaming. He was also sitting on his bed. It seemed as if he had been very scared in a dream. "Brother, what's wrong with you? Are you all right?" Naman asked his brother, seeing him scared, and said, "Shamo, you won't go to the sewing center from today. You know how worried I am about you. The conditions in the city are so bad. I fear every day that in my absence, some accident might happen to you. Come on, my sister." He started crying when he saw me. I loved my brother so much. He used to worry about me so much at that age. When boys are living a carefree life outside their home, "Brother, if I don't go to the sewing center, where will we eat? You know, right now, our expenses have definitely increased. We have to pay the rent for this house too." There was a look of desperation in his eyes. After that day, Shakir and I never talked. I was wondering why this was happening. Even though we lived in the same room, we couldn't talk to each other. He would come from outside and immediately enter the bathroom. Sometimes he had a colorful and sometimes a black shopper in his hand. I would get confused when I saw this. I thought that maybe he had brought something to eat for himself. But my brother loved me so much. How could I eat anything alone? Finally, I started by supervising my brother. Every time he went to the bathroom, after he left, I would make some excuse or the other. Sometimes she would send him out of the room to get something from the market, sometimes she would make up some other excuse and he would quietly leave. After he left, I would thoroughly inspect the room and the bathroom. I did not find any dustbin or empty shopping bags lying around in the bathroom. I would be surprised as to why my brother goes to the bathroom every day with an empty shopping bag. Hasn't Mir Abhay become mentally ill? I started thinking, but oh my God, what happened in a few days that he became mentally ill? My body broke down after thinking about it when one day I accidentally opened the lid of the Flemish tank in the bathroom. Seeing the scene in front of me, I was wet with shame. I had not even thought that my brother's reality would be so bitter. Now he had stopped bringing shopping bags for a long time, but after the secret I had learned today, there was no need for any explanation. Anyway, I lay down quietly. I thought that I would keep quiet about this matter, but the solution to the problem would definitely be found at the door the next day by chance. There was a knock, I opened the door and Samran was standing in front of me. A wave of happiness came over my face when I saw Samran. She had been my friend since I started going to the sewing center. But then, on my brother's insistence, I did not go to the sewing center because my brother had strictly forbidden me that he would take care of the household expenses himself. I did not need to go anywhere. Seeing my brother's concern, I also started staying at home. I did not even go out with my friends. But Samran was a very good friend of mine. Even gossiping with her was enough. I had no idea what to do with her. And today she came to meet me herself. How could I refuse her? Samran told me that she misses me a lot. The other women at the sewing center also miss me a lot and want me to come back to the sewing center. I was left smiling after hearing Samran's words because I and Abhay did not allow me to go out. But then Samran said something that made me unable to sit at home. She told me that the daughter of the head of the sewing center, Sabiha Aunty, is getting married. All of us girls had good wishes for her daughter, so I thought that I would definitely go to the wedding of Sabiha Auntie's daughter because she had supported us girls a lot and had pinned our hopes on us in bad times. On the other hand, I was also thinking that I would definitely tell Sabiha Auntie, with whom I used to share my every problem, that there was a strange problem with my brother and that I also wanted to mention the fact that I had come to know about her that day. Keeping both objectives in mind, I talked to my brother about going out, but he flatly refused. I had not yet told him that I was going to the wedding of Sabiha Auntie's daughter. I thought that if I said that, he would think that I was making an excuse to go to the sewing center. I said that a friend of mine is getting married. If you don't give me permission, I will go myself, but now I will not listen to you. Abhay was younger than me. On my insistence, he allowed me. 3 days later, I went with Samran. That day, my brother left home at 6 in the morning. He did not even have breakfast with me. I considered it a normal resentment and went with Samran. Samran had come to pick me up at about 4 in the evening. But I was worried about Shakir because he had not yet come home. I reached Auntie Sabiha's house near the sewing center around evening with Samran. There was a different atmosphere here. At that time, even the elders used to get married in their own houses. Wedding halls were not the norm. All this has only just begun. However, there was a lot of commotion in Auntie Sabiha's house. After a while, after a couple of hours of commotion, all the girls ran outside after hearing the noise of the procession. The boys had come in a big way. The ones who played drums were different, the ones who danced and sang were different, while their women wore royal dresses. We were feeling inferior to them, especially the girls coming from the sewing center, but in a short time, these people mingled with the girls. I don't know why. My heart was getting very restless. Then suddenly my eyes fell on this group of eunuchs who were dancing and singing and attracting everyone's attention. Suddenly my eyes fell on a familiar face among the eunuchs. I cried as soon as I saw him. I was convinced, so I ran and went near him. He was busy dancing. He was none other than my own brother Shakir. Seeing him having breakfast here, the ground moved from under my feet. It was Sabiha Auntie's house. I couldn't say anything to her there. Maybe she hadn't noticed me. She was engrossed in her own music, but I had seen her and recognized her. Now, instead of Samran, I started waiting for these eunuchs to see when they would leave here. Even at the time of the wedding, I was around the group of eunuchs. I covered my face well with my niqab, so that I could keep an eye on my brother, lest my eyes deceive me. God forbid, this is Mir Abhay. For a moment, Mir Awal would have said this too, but with the same face, the same hair, And the same style, how could I forget that this is Mir Abhay? Mir Abhay seemed much younger than all of them, while the rest of the eunuchs present that year were much older than him. Many concerns began to circulate in my mind, because being with older people was not free from danger. An alarm bell was ringing in my heart, which was not letting me breathe a sigh of relief. After a while, the marriage took place. The procession was about to return. This group of eunuchs was dancing and getting restless because sweets were being distributed everywhere in the joy of the marriage. However, this phase of the marriage finally came to an end. Everyone sat in the procession car and the eunuchs left their homes. These eunuchs are so abandoned that people take them with them. They come, but it is not their responsibility to take them. I saw that everyone's eyes were also dim because they did not get any special money from here. In the rush of marriage, Samran could not think of Mir. When this group of eunuchs left the house where the procession was taking place, I also secretly covered myself with a veil and followed them. I was also afraid that I did not know where these eunuchs would go at that time, but from their words and their manner, I came to know that these people were not bad people. They were talking innocently among themselves and going towards their place. After a while, the people reached their house. I stood quietly behind the wall. My brother also went inside with them. Maybe he wanted to bring his share of the money. I stood behind the wall and cried for a long time. After half an hour, Mir Abhay fixed his appearance, came out of the room and covered himself with a coat. I knew that it was Shakir. He had not seen me. I was behind the wall. She kept quiet and walked forward in the street, so I followed her with slow steps. She walked quickly and kept walking. After going a little distance, she bought fruits from a cart and was heading towards the factory. I was relieved to know that I had reached here correctly by trusting my eyes and had reached on time. Shakir kept walking ahead and I followed her. In a short time, we reached our house. When he saw the door of the house was locked, he took out the key from the designated place. He knew that today I had gone to my friend's wedding. When he opened the door and entered, I also entered with him. He looked at me in surprise and I slapped him hard on the face. He looked at me with a frown. The smile on his lips that he had applied at the wedding house was still there, but his appearance had changed a little. He often came from outside and put his hand on his mouth and went towards the bathroom. Today I understood the reason for all this. I started shouting at Shakir. Shakir, what was your compulsion? You did this to hurt the souls of your deceased parents. Tears were continuously flowing from my eyes. What do you mean, uncle? What did I do? He was still surprised. Don't be ignorant, Shakir. I have seen everyone at the wedding. How were you dancing like women there? Seeing your feminine style, I felt ashamed that I was your sister. I slapped Shakir again on the cheek. Now, poor Rala looked at me with a sad face and started crying. I was the only one who was his support. Today, if I rained on him, what must have happened to his heart? I had not even thought about it. He sat at my feet and started crying. Uncle, you don't know how much sacrifice I have made. It is not easy to lose my self-respect. I was crying profusely. I also started crying when he cried. My brother, when did you get involved in all this? When your sister was about to do all this, what did you need? My anger had now turned into tenderness. He said, sobbing, Uncle, try to understand. I am your brother. Earning is my duty and I will earn it. I was determined for this, but helplessness was also pouring out of my eyes. My brother, livelihood is not earned like this. There are thousands of ways to earn livelihood. I explained to him, and he started crying with sobs. I remember that day when you were going to the sewing center. I also secretly followed you. It was morning. I wanted to see how safe you were on your way. You know, a little ahead of this house, there is a big house whose door is always open. That day, when you passed in front of this door, a man followed you. Seeing this man behind you, I got very angry. But I didn't say anything to him, saying that he might be busy with some work of his own. But there was something in his eyes that I understood in time what his intentions were. He tried to sneak up on you after going a little distance, so I caught him there. Since that day, my pride has not allowed me to let you out of the house. This period is very bad for a single girl. Bawa. That day, I remembered my father. I was wiping away my tears on the way, when I met Abrar on the corner of the street. You know Abrar, he also lives with these same people. He is a good father, has a wife and children, earns and feeds them too. He took me to his camp. He told me that we are all almost men, but we are forced to do all these things under our own compulsions. At first, I got very angry at his words, but then when my mind was ready to think, I agreed to do this work. At first, I found it very difficult, but with time, I started liking this work. I felt a soul dancing and throbbing inside me, and I knew my conscience was right. I was afraid that you might see me in some gathering. I didn't want you to know my true nature. That's why I used to put my clothes in the shopper every day and put them in the flash drive. I know I have made a mistake, but you also think that I did all this for you. Thank you, brother. Saying this, I started crying again. Then we both became siblings. Seeing each other, they started shedding tears of helplessness. For some days, he also did not leave the house because his heart was withered. I said, if today you are so sad and ashamed when a sister finds out the truth, then think about what will they think of you tomorrow when the rest of the people, your friends, come to know about this. He started thinking carefully about what I said. Then he left that gathering of eunuchs and started working hard. First, he worked as a maid at the railway station. After that, a railway officer was impressed by him and hired a driver at his house. Life went on like this until my brother respectfully sent me off from his doorstep. Today, I have married and returned to my home. My brother also has his own world in his small house, but I have hardly found his love in any other relationship in my life. He has hurt his self-esteem to save my honor. It is true that only lucky sisters get such brothers.